Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 22 My Team Career Mode. This is episode number 69 today for this Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in Season 4, the penultimate round of this season. Yep, we've only got 2 races to go, and off the back of the last episode, well, things are looking rather interesting in the F1 World Championship. Surprise, surprise, if you didn't see that episode already, definitely go check it out. But of course, Lady Luck was just not on our side once again, and following the Mexican Grand Prix, we are now 5th place in the Drivers' Championship, 6 points off the top. Lando Norris takes the lead once again. I feel like that top spot has changed so many times over the course of this season. Sebastian Vettel is now only 1 point off the top. Drogovic then 2 off him, level on points with Alexander Albon in 4th place. So going to the last 2 rounds, 5 drivers have got their name in the hat to win this championship. But it could have gone so differently after Mexico. Going into that race, I was leading the way with a relatively nice cushion in the lead. I mean, relative to how big the gaps are usually on the F1 game when it comes to career mode championships. But then, of course, as I said, Lady Luck just really wasn't our side in 2 different ways. First of all, I thought it was going to be a very difficult race with our rear wing getting critical damage, being broken for the rest of that race after turn 1, thanks to a collision from one of our rivals, Lando Norris, and then ultimately a massive kick up the backside from one of the Repsol Haskars of Schwartzman. But it wouldn't have mattered in the end. That race could have gone differently in the first lap. It would not have mattered because the F1 gods had already decided my fate, because I was set to get my 5th engine failure of the entire season. Out of 16 rounds, my engine is gone 5 different times. That is just unbelievable luck, like bad luck. I mean, I've had my fair share of great luck over the years, over different F1 games. It kind of almost feels like all that good luck is being balanced out by this one horrendous nightmare of a season where our car has been so strong relative to our competition, especially from last season when our team was bankrupt with this new partnership with Audi. But in this second season, yeah, we've had the car, but the reliability has just not been there, despite bringing so many, probably the most reliability upgrades I've ever brought to a My Team career mode car in any single season. And yet it just still keeps on breaking, and well, could still break once more in the remaining 2 rounds, because now following that DNF, I am once again very scared about that possibility. But the irony is not lost on me, the fact we brought so many durability upgrades and it's still failing on us. I mean, the internal combustion engine, that was the part that failed on us in that latest failure at Mexico. I've actually maxed out my upgrades in terms of my facilities. I can't purchase the 3rd and final internal combustion engine reliability upgrade until I get to Spec 3. So that kind of just puts into perspective how much I've actually plowed into durability. We're 15 out of 27 upgrades. We're over halfway of the upgrades we could be doing in this department, and yet the gremlins have returned after 2 very decent and consistent races at Singapore and Canada. 2 races which brought us back fully into the championship, into a lead of the championship, and yet we're sat here again following a failure and looking at some more grid penalties. And because we've only got 2 rounds left to go and we have plowed in a lot of R&D points on the durability side, I think my thinking is balls to the wall. Let's just go for broke. Let's go for performance and try and get this car as quick as possible at the final race at Abu Dhabi. Saudi Arabia, I'm hoping with fresh components, we're not going to get a failure here. You never know, that's the risk I'm taking, but I've gone ahead and purchased the final engine upgrade on fuel, and for the first time, I'm going to actually buy a brakes update on the chassis side of things. So we've got the final aero upgrade, ultimate drag reduction to come for Abu Dhabi, ultimate fuel efficiency for Abu Dhabi, which will max out those 2 departments, and then the chassis side, if you didn't know, I've been avoiding the brake updates because I think it's been a general notion for the last 3 games that for whatever reason, season, the car actually feels so much worse on the braking when you do the brake upgrades on the chassis side. So I've been kind of, reluctant to do those. But I thought, okay, one minor upgrade on the brakes might not hurt us and might just allow me to brake that a little bit later or harder, maybe in some battles around Yas Marina. But, generally speaking, especially from F1 2020 and 2021, those brake upgrades always felt so backwards and like you were taking a step back rather than forward. So we've avoided them till now. But I think we're going to need all the upgrades we can get because the AI teams around us, they just keep on upgrading. It is relentless of them having that boosted R&D, ourselves reduced R&D, and it means going into Saudi Arabia, we are now the 5th best team on the grid technically. I mean, it's all very, very close at the top end there. We're all on top of each other, so there's not a lot of difference there, but it does kind of, show the reflection of, moving up and down this R&D chart, how much they've been upgrading. Our sister team, Audi Sport, are now technically the best on the grid, just about ahead of Repsol, Haas, McLaren, and Mercedes, Red Bull just behind us. So they're going to be in the fight. They're a bit of a neutral because none of their drivers are in the title fight. So them being at the top could be quite good in a way because it means that maybe potentially none of our rivals could be in a chance to win the race. But like I said, because all these teams are so close together in the R&D chart, it doesn't really matter. It is pretty much all equalised, and it means Repsol, Haas with Drugovic, McLaren have improved with Lando, may well be up there. Vettel's in such fine form, so the danger is very much not away from us, and obviously our task is very large because we do have to take a set of engine penalties, and if we're taking 2, we may as well take all of them and have a fresh set of components for the last 2 races, components that I hope will take us through to the end of the season without a failure now in these last 2 rounds. But yeah, that means a back of the grid then for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. So we're going to go into Q1, we're going to just set a lap time just to kind of see what the pace is like, see what others are saying, but then we'll probably call it quits and then just go to the race knowing that we'll be at the back of the grid. So I mentioned at the end of the last episode in Mexico that if there was one more failure of this car and engine, that I would be firing Mark as my race engineer and that I'd be hiring Jeff back to come back to the team. We've missed him since F1 2021, and I am happy to say that Jeff is indeed back as my engineer.
No need to worry about tyre condition for now. Everything's looking good. No threat of rain for the time being. Conditions looking good. Dries seem like the best tyre for now.
Yep, Jeff is back on F1 22. He has been revived, and he is back on the pit wall, calling the shots, and hopefully operationally will be bringing some good luck from F1 2021 to this game for us in the last 2 rounds. We have yet to win a Drivers' World Championship with Mark as our engineer. We won a couple of championships with Jeff as our engineer on F1 2020 and 2021. So I'm hoping that is maybe a good omen for things to come. But we're here in Q1. Like I said, we're just going to set a lap time here in the first session just to get a kind of sense of what kind of speed we're looking at. I know it's Q1 though, so the out-and-out speed won't be there necessarily. Obviously the AI and the track speeds up in Q2 and Q3, and it was a pretty messy lap for me actually in the last sector. A few little bumps here and there on the walls, trying to get to grips with when I can turn in and turn out from some corners, but initially it looked like quite a good lap time. In the end it's only P12, but it won't matter because I've got a 94 place penalty apparently according to the game there, so I'm actually going to be starting back at Bahrain, it seems like. But that's going to be it then for action for us on the Saturday. We know we're going to be starting at the back of the grid, and we're going to have to watch out for that grid sequence into Sunday to fully get a picture of what that starting grid looks like. So keep your eyes peeled. Let's go to Sunday, back of the grid. Let's do this.
So here we are then, welcoming you today to one of the jewels of the Arab world, Jeddah. One of the biggest cities in Saudi Arabia, second only to Riyadh, gateway to Mecca, and one of the biggest ports in the region. And now, host to the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. So let's take a look at the topographical map of the Jeddah street circuit. As you can see, a number of challenging corners for the drivers to master here. We'll see just how much the teams have benefited from their time spent in practice this weekend. And like many street circuits, this track has the potential to punish drivers that get it wrong. Let's hope we avoid any safety cars today. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Sebastian Vettel will start on pole, a fantastic qualifying from the multiple world champion. And Felipe Drugovich completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Gasly, Robert Schwartzman and Norris, Bottas, Leclerc, Albon and George Russell, Perez, Liam Lawson, Mick Schumacher and Fernando Alonso. They've taken a grid penalty. Ocon, Verstappen, Kevin Magnussen and Lance Stroll. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Tsunoda, Oscar Piastri, Teo Pourchaire and the owner driver. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn one, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
So it really does look like we've got the Sebastian Vettel from last season in our car once again. You know, since he's joined the team, apart from Canada, he has not been off the podium, and it shows. He is a man in fine form and a man who might be looking to try and secure his 6th World Championship, having got his 5th, of course, in this alternate F1 universe, because he is on pole position for this Grand Prix, just narrowly beating out Felipe Drugovich onto the front row in 2nd place. Carlos Sainz in the sister Audi team in 3rd place alongside Gasly, the two higher of the McLarens, kind of the opposite way around. McLaren and Lando were probably hoping, and then Schwartzman in between, Bottas, Leclerc and then Albon, showing Red Bull really falling flat when it really matters at this crucial point in the season. But for us, our task is even larger than Albon's, because we're at the back of the grid, P22, and we've got it all to do, because there's only 6 points covering the top 5 in the championship, so I have to have a successful comeback drive. I need to be minimum, you're probably thinking, in the top 5 by the end of this race. If the likes of Vettel, Drugovich, you know, you'd say maybe Lando's going to push in to the top 5, you know, he'd be hoping to, you know, so that happens, if they're all 3 of them are in the top 5, and, you know, even Albon, wherever he is, we need to be in the points, in the probably top half of the points to stand any chance, because we're the driver with the most points to gain back on the leader, who is currently Lando Norris. So, yeah, we've got it all to do. We've got it all to do. And in the back of my head, I can't lie, I've still got the thought of maybe what if we were to face a 6th engine failure of this season in these last remaining rounds, because we just came off the back of one. We had 3 back-to-backs. When I thought we're safe from those engine gremlins at Monza, it returned at Imola. I thought we were safe after Singapore and Canada. They returned at Mexico. So just keep me in your prayers that we have not got an engine failure on the way in this race. I really hope not, because I love Jeddah. It's a really fun circuit, especially on this game. I find the racing's really intense, slipstreaming so powerful, so I'm hoping we can have a fun one, making our way up the order and trying to sift through these slower cars as quick as we can at the start in the opening laps, and then trying our best to bridge the gap to our rivals up in the top 10. It's all to play for. 2 rounds to go, 6 points in it. We go to 5 red lights, and we're underway for this Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, the penultimate round. It's a good start for us, but there's nowhere to really go at turn 1. It's a bit of a tight affair. We're going to try and make 2 cheeky overtakes on Piastri and Pourchaire around the outside at turn 2, and just try and keep our nose clean, basically. We can't make any more places at the moment. Maybe one on Magnussen here using a bit of ERS, but then K-Mag dives back down the inside of Tsunoda in the Porsche Williams, having a go at Tsunoda, who also joins me down the order in a quicker car. So we have to settle for P19. It is a bit of a street circuit. The walls are so close, and the aim of the game is trying to overtake cars whilst keeping our car all but clean and intact. So trying to have a bit of patience as well, even though I've got some desperation in the cockpit to also get up as quick as we can. Bit of contact with K-Mag as the rear end steps out. It's getting very close, and that was maybe a bit too close for comfort, so I back off and just try and size ourselves up for a move later on in the lap. No DRS, of course, on this opening lap, but we've got plenty of battery power, and this car is still a rocket ship in a straight line from the engine power we've got from Audi. When it works very well, as I've said many times before, and we make quick work of both Porsche Williams cars down the inside and that tricky fast left to right hander. And now we watch Tsunoda up ahead doing the kind of same work I'm trying to do, get up the order. He's on the soft compound though, so he's wanting to get a move on even quicker than I am, basically, as he's having a go at Mick Schumacher, but to no success. Meanwhile, at the top end, you can see Vettel still leads this race then from Drogovic, but he looks like he's battling Carlos Sainz, but we're too busy in our own battle to take a look at that right now, because I'm on the back of these two going side by side. Tsunoda struggling to convincingly overtake Schumacher there, and instead he finds himself side by side with us. Round the outside we go into the heart of Sector 1, the twisting fast section, up into P15 now. Good progress, but we need to do a bit better, because I need to get onto the back of the top 10 really quite soon. Like, you know, I'm talking within a couple of laps basically, because these guys will have some insane pace up ahead in clean air. Vettel, I mean, he's already 1.2 ahead of Drogovic, so he is controlling this race. And remember what happened last season at Saudi Arabia? That's right, Sebastian Vettel won that race. It was his first race win as our teammate in Season 3, when this was the second round of the championship. And here in the second last round of the championship, he's looking pretty comfortable. Carlos Sainz, he's badgering Drogovic and looks like he's likely to maybe make an overtake for P2. The Repsol Haas driver trying to defend, but Sainz has got a really good run on the outside. Drogovic goes defensive and he'll slot in just ahead of the Spaniard and maintain P2. Meanwhile, Lando Norris getting crossed up 3 wide into the final turn with the Renault and the Audi of Bottas, as now we've got a puncher! What? We just narrowly kept it out the wall there, but we have to come in. No, you're kidding me. We've got a puncher off some debris in that contact that Bottas made with Lando Norris and Sergio Perez, I believe. And now we're limping down the pit lane. And all of a sudden, I think we're staring our championship hopes in the mirror. And the mirror's been smashed by a bit of debris, giving us a puncher on the rear right. We come in for an early pit stop on lap 2, and we're on hard tyres now that we may well have to take to the end of the Grand Prix. And it's all because of this incident. So Lando Norris trying to make a 2-for-1 pass into the final corner. The championship leader, of course, looking to extend and control his lead, locks up, makes contact with Bottas in that 3-wide move, the debris from which gives me a rear right puncher. But look at the background there. Albon drove over the same debris, but because my tyre knocked it, he was unscathed, and I'm the one that took the full brunt of it. It was so unfortunate because it was on the racing line, like that curb. You get right up close to the wall. I mean, in real life, Verstappen got so close to the wall in qualifying, remember, that he hit the wall. So that is unreal levels of bad luck. Like, can we get any luck in this season? 5 engine failures, and then in a crucial race from the back of the grid, we're getting a rear right puncher. The F1 game just doesn't want us to win a championship, a driver's championship on this game, does it? We've not won one yet. We've won one Constructors, but we're not anywhere close to a driver's championship, and it doesn't look likely now. We're in last place. We're on hard tyres, and meanwhile our teammate is in the lead on mediums, 2.6 ahead of a fellow Audi driver. Carlos Sainz in second, Drogovic third. Looks like he's struggling though, the young Brazilian. You know, maybe not used to the pressure of being at the top of the grid, being in a championship fight now for the first time in his F1 career, and he's feeling pressure from Leclerc in the Mercedes. Schwartzman, Russell, Gasly close behind, and for the McLarens, well, Lando Norris, the championship leader going into this one, he's really off the pace compared to his teammate. Very much the polar opposite of what's been the case this entire season. He's left stuck, still trying to overtake Perez and Albon P10. So in terms of with Lando and Albon, at least, you know, maybe they're not going to score as many points, but Vettel and Drugovich being at the sharp end in the top 3 right now, and us being stone dead last is not good news. We're on hard tyres, looking to go to the end, but whether we can even get to the end, I don't know. I think maybe we're going to be forced onto a 2-stop, which is even worse, because a 2-stop only works if you're ahead of people who are doing a 1-stop. So we've got it all to do now, as Schwartzman overtakes the Mercedes there we saw, as we now cut back to our POV. Lap 6 then, a couple laps have gone by. We've warmed up our hard tyres. We've got 1 place on Magnussen, and now we're within 1 second of Bottas, so within the next lap I'll be hoping to overtake him. But further up the road, my 2 different teammates from this season alone are now side by side, as Carlos Sainz is looking to get up into the lead. He does get the lead with DRS into turn 1. Vettel down to second as we look to make the opposite swap and get the Martini Audi ahead of the Works Audi car. But yeah, very nice synergy and mirroring there as the Works Audi gets ahead of the Martini one at the sharp end, and at the tail end the opposite happens. But Bottas may just come back at us here. He's got DRS, we do not. No car ahead of us, as Pourchaire or Ocon are still a few seconds ahead. Bottas back down the inside. He's on the medium tyre, so I think Bottas, is he committed then to a 2-stop? I've given myself the option of maybe a very audacious long 1-stop on hard tyres, but we are really pushing these hards, as you can see on the top left, purple lap time on a set of hards, because that's what clean air and just anger in the cockpit will do for you, because I'm just driving flat out. So to be honest, I might be just, you know, solidifying my own strategy of doing a 2-stop, because I'm wearing out these hards so quickly. I'm doing no tyre saving, giving them no rest. I'm just doing kind of qualifying S laps around this circuit to get past all these cars, because at this point I'm not thinking about strategy. I'm just thinking about my pure rage at the fact we got a puncher and how quickly I want to catch back up to some people, and we'll just see where we end up. And where we're going to end up is lap 9. Russell's come in a bit earlier than I would have thought, but he comes out side by side with us. We get a bit of twitch of oversteer. We're down to 16th place as we're briefly to P15, but I wonder why Russell's come in so early. Is he doing a 2-stop himself, or is he just trying a very audacious undercut? I don't know. He's gone on to medium, so I would say that's probably a 2-stop, but we're going to have to try and get past him. He's on colder tyres. We've got Stroll ahead of us, a much slower car in the Aston Martin. Russell on the inside. We go the long way around and overtake both of them in one go at that banked left-hander up into P14. But, you know, where Russell came out from the pit stop, that's interesting. That might mean we could actually be around where Leclerc and Schwartzman is once they all make their one and only stop of the afternoon, or nighttime rather, as we now see the 2 McLarens squabbling. Lando Norris looking to try and get past Pierre Gasly. Gasly giving him a bit more of a fight than you would think he would, seeing as Lando's the one in the championship fight. So clearly no team orders today for McLaren Mercedes, as we get past Mick Schumacher and close up to Piastri in a Ferrari sandwich now. P13. We are making good gains, but the whole time I know that there's that question of, can we even take these hards all the way to the end? Will there be enough pace to even get a good enough position on the hards? Because as we overtake Piastri, we're now P11, 1 place off points in the top 10. Sure, we might come out, you know, around where Leclerc and Schwartzman are once they make their pit stops, but then they're going to be on much, much fresher hard tyres, or even softs. I don't know if they're going to do a very audacious 1-stop. So it's going to be a question of, can we keep them at bay, or can we overtake them if we're close to them once they make that pit stop? Speaking of teammate battles before the McLarens, the 2 Repsol Haas cars are having a go at each other. It's good to see there's no team orders here, because Schwartzman overtakes Drugovich, and Lando Norris, he is ahead of Pierre Gasly, but Gasly coming back at him. So you've got 2 different teammates in different teams fighting their teammate that is in a championship, and it's the teammate that's not in the championship fight that is getting the better of them. Gasly gets back ahead of Lando Norris, and Schwartzman, of course, already got ahead of Drugovich, as now we see Max Verstappen out of this Grand Prix with some sort of mechanical issue, really just rounding off what has been a miserable season and move for him to the Renault team as we catch up to Alonso and Liam Lawson in the Andretti Hondas. Liam Lawson actually just got the better of Fernando Alonso. These two might be facing a bit of tyre wear now, but ourselves, we're also getting a bit of dirty air. So we have to go opposite lock and keep the car going in a straight line just about. But can we get past Alonso? Bit too eager to make a move around the outside. Alonso covers that off, and I just don't have the overwhelming grip anymore on the hard tyres to make that outside move work. But we're just going to be patient now through the next right to left hand of the slingshot. There'll be some DRS available here in Sector 2, and getting past these two may be crucial in terms of the clean air we've got ahead of them to carry on the race pace we've been showing on the hard tyres on the inside of Alonso under the kind of bridge hotel building, whatever you want to call it. And now the slingshot into the final corner on Lawson to Andretti. He's gotten in one sector, potentially. Yellow flags. Lawson back down the inside, re-overtakes us and goes very defensive into the apex of the last turn. So we're actually back down to P10, but surely now this is going to be the nail in the coffin. He goes defensive to the inside, but it's going to be no use with DRS and the battery deploying up into now what is P7, as we do have that first round of pit stops, and we are ahead of Leclerc. We're behind Schwartzman, though, who has come in. Sainz has come in as well, but we're now 4.2 seconds behind Schwartzman, who was around, you know, P3 to 4, battling his teammate Carlos Sainz. Well, he was in the lead of the Grand Prix, and we're only about 7 or 8 seconds off him. So we've done very well in terms of pace on the hard tyres, but the problem is, obviously, I'm on, you know, 11 lap old hard tyres. These guys have just gone to fresh hard tyres, so the pace difference is going to be quite mad. And so I don't know, we're going to have a lot of work to do to maybe just keep this position later on into the race. But out the pits comes Sebastian Vettel and Drugovich, and the undercut has not worked for Schwartzman. He comes up behind his teammate Felipe Drugovich. Sainz, though, still leads the races. There's a safety car. Yes! Yes! That's what we needed. It's Lawrence Stroll. Gets it all crossed up on the curb and loses the back end. Smashes in to that wall. And that is a full course safety car. And that may just give us half a chance of still getting a good result in this race, because we will pit under the safety car from P5, and if we're lucky, we could come out just in P10 or 11 maybe. We're going to go onto a set of new medium tyres that we have in our allocation, so a brand spanking new set of mediums, 10 laps to go, the rest of them on slightly worn hards. This is the ideal scenario, but it's not going to be easy. Sainz leads the way under the safety car. Vettel second place. Schwartzman and Drugovich, the two Repsol Hasses, behind in third and fourth place. Then the two Mercs, Leclerc and Russell, who seem to be pretty handy around this circuit, showing some great race pace, to be honest here, having a go at the Haas cars for this first stint. Then Gasly, Albon, and Lando Norris P9. We did come out in P10. So we are 10th place. We're on medium tyres. Fresh medium tyres, the rest of them on hards. This is our chance. This is our chance. This could undo the puncher issue, and this could undo that unfortunate opening few laps and that incident. Lap 16 on to 17, we're going green again at Jeddah, barreling down to turn 1, looking to maybe make a move on Norris, but he's got other ideas. He makes a dive bomb himself, a double overtake he's looking to make on Albon. He's already got him. He's now squabbling and banging tyres with his teammate Gasly. He's got it. He's up into P7. The championship leader going into this round is adamant he's going to try and keep his lead, or at least try and limit the damage. For us, we took it precautionary into turn 1s and 2 because I am on mediums. We have the outright pace probably on all these cars, so it's just about trying to keep our nose clean, just like the opening laps of this race. And let's hope we don't get the puncher this time round as we overtake Albon with ease on the inside. And that's what I mean. We don't need to make a desperate move on these cars. I eventually should be able to get past them. It's just about trying to keep up the pace and rate of overtakes, as we only have 8 laps in this race left. But Sainz leads the way, 7/10 ahead of Vettel already, so he's looking like he's looking to dominate the entire Grand Prix ever since he got into P1. Vettel doing a stunning job still in P2. Schwartzman behind in third, Drugovich, Leclerc, Russell, Norris, Gasly, and then myself as we cut back on to our POV on the inside of Gasly. Easy does it into the final corner because the AI do love to give you a big old pinch into the apex, so taking it a bit easy there, but getting the move ultimately done, trying to break the toe and the slipstream of Gasly because the McLaren seems pretty good in a straight line under the rear wing of another car, in the same way Gasly's stuck onto the back of Lando this entire race and always re-overtaking him basically when he overtakes him. But speaking of, in the very same place we got Gasly, we're going to get Lando Norris through on the left-hand side. No DRS needed, just pure battery power, as that will come into effect on the next lap, I believe. But up ahead, there's some side-by-sides going on, and it's with the Haas and Vettel. Sainz has pulled away into his lead and looking to secure that P1, but Vettel's now under attack for P2 from Schwartzman. Schwartzman on the inside of turn 2. Vettel, bit of contact made as they're wheel to wheel. Vettel is able to defend and keep his P2 for now, but those Haas cars are raring to go, and both of them want the P2 spot. Drugovich right up the chuff of Schwartzman, and Leclerc and Russell are in there as well. The two silver arrows, they've looked mighty quick around here, and along with Carlos Sainz, definitely a bit of a spanner in the works for all of us in the championship fight. We look behind, Norris struggling for pace to keep up with us in this train that is now headed by Vettel and tail-ended by myself as Russell has a bit of oversteer. I think that's the same set of mediums he's been on since that first pit stop, so Russell going for a very, very weird one stop, and kudos to him if he actually manages to hang on to some points maybe by the end of it, because that's a long way to go on mediums, and so he's struggling a little bit. And you can see the gap to Leclerc now has grown, and we're going to slot into that gap and overtake him just before the end of Sector 2, as Drugovich is looking to try and get back up into P3 to keep his championship hopes alive and get as many points as he can over rivals and limit the damage to Sebastian Vettel. But Schwartzman is really going for broke here. There is truly no team orders today, or at all indeed, in the F1 game, and that's how you know it, because you've got Schwartzman giving him a great old fight. Still, they're side by side now for most of Sector 1. Leclerc and myself now behind, just kind of backing off and watching that fight, because you daren't kind of get in the middle of it with the walls so close together. But Leclerc surely will have to go for a move, otherwise he's going to be susceptible to myself. You've got, it's around the outside pass, maybe Leclerc, can he go all the way around? This could be a fantastic move for the man from Monaco. I think he's going to pull it off on Schwartzman, or not. The Repsol Haas comes back at him, bit of contact over the curb, and the Haas has to back out of it. It is an overtake for Leclerc. It's a great overtake for the man in the Mercedes car, and now we have a chance to overtake Drugovich up into P5, backing off into left-hander, just taking it easy because I don't want to get in the middle of anything. I don't want to kind of risk my front wing at this late stage of the race. Only 5 laps to go. Instead, going for this much safer pass on the inside up into P4, and now Drugovich looking to re-overtake Leclerc. Leclerc comes in with the lock-up, and my life has flashed before my eyes, because oh my, if I turned in any sooner, that could have been us out of the race, taken out by Leclerc locking up, and now we have to defend from Drugovich. We do so into turn 1, and we've solidified the P4, and we go chasing after the Haas. But behind us, this is what happened with the McLarens, because the McLarens have pits. It's a disaster for Lando Norris and his championship hopes, because he was in a fight with Russell. Gasly came in, there's the contact, and it's damage for both of them. They both got front wing damage. It's McLaren civil war, and Lando Norris is going to be fuming at Pierre Gasly. He's nowhere near the championship fight. Locks up himself, but then there's the contact, and there's a broken front wing end plate for both him and the Frenchman. So that is going to be the nail in the coffin for Lando Norris's title hopes, I think, this season. For Albon's as well, being down in the lower top 10. But for us, for Drugovich, for Vettel, the hope is still on. But for me, I need to do a bit more work to feel a bit more comfortable going into the final round. We've got Schwartzman in our sights, but there's still enough time maybe to get Sebastian Vettel as well. But first and foremost, we have to overtake this second Repsol Haas, get the elbows out. We leave nothing on the table. Up into P3, 3.2 seconds now to Vettel, but we're on much quicker medium tyres. He's on worn hards. We can do this. We're going to chase after him. Meanwhile, behind, the two Haas cars are still going at it, and Drugovich is desperate to get up into P4 just to limit the damage that is being done right now from Vettel and myself in terms of the championship points. But Schwartzman's adamant to fight him. Leclerc is in the middle of both of them. It's all nearly 3 wide into turn 1. Drugovich does get the better of the two of them. He's into P4. Leclerc is P5 now, and all of a sudden Schwartzman's lost 2 positions. So it's all kicking off between these two Haas cars and Leclerc, and that may keep on running to the end of the race. But like I said, Albon down in P8. He's going to be so frustrated with Red Bull, how much potential they've had this entire season. They were the quickest car for, a good third of the first part of the season. And then this man, he's going to be fuming. Both him and Gasly down in P8 into 19. For what? For what? A bit of silly contact, and they're now both out of the race, and Lando Norris out of the World Championship fight, I think you could say. Mathematically probably still in it, but it's going to be a long, long day in Yas Marina for him and Albon, and it might be a longer one for Drugovich. No! It's a disaster for the Brazilian under pressure. He's lost the 2 positions he gained. Meanwhile, we're looking to gain 1 more position in this race. Side by side, Vettel takes us wide, gets the elbows out, contact at turn 1 on the exit, keeping it clean with our teammate. Much respect between us all season. This time it's got a bit frosty, but you can understand why. There is a championship lead on the line going into the final round of this season. We're closing up on Vettel again. Lap 24, the second last lap of the Grand Prix. We couldn't get the job done in the first sector of this lap. Can we get it done in the last sector? We've got a great run. DRS will open. We've got plenty of battery power. Vettel goes to the inside and defends, but ultimately we just have way too much speed for him. The tyre grip is there as well into the final bend, and we're up into P2. Vettel will try his best to try and stick with us. He's obviously still got the same car as me, great in a straight line, so he's maybe got half a chance onto the last lap of the Grand Prix. Into turn 1, not so much, and will remain in P2. But what will happen at the end of the lap? What's going to happen with this fight? Because Leclerc is now looking to try and steal P4 from both Haas cars. Schwartzman down to P5 by a whisker, but dives back down the inside. Leclerc fighting for all he's worth to get ahead and stay ahead of these two Haas cars, but Schwartzman has put up the race of his life potentially today. Maybe the wrong time to do it, because that man behind him, Drugovich, is the one that's going to lose out most in terms of the championship, and instead it's going to be myself and Vettel benefiting. But who's going to benefit the most? He's on that DRS in Sector 2 to close him up through the right-hander, the slingshot onto this last straight into the final corner. He's got a lot of speed with DRS. We're using all the battery we dare to use before the final corner, side by side, but ultimately the medium tyre helped us out traction him. We power to the line, the rest of the battery deployed, and we come across the line for P2. We've come from the back of the grid, a puncher on lap 2 to get a podium, and this double podium means the Constructors is wrapped up for the second season in a row. Myself and Vettel have taken this team to the top.
And talk to me, what do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track. The driver did everything that was expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection. A shining example of how F1 really is a team sport.
So here they come now, out onto the podium. It's thrilling to see this team go toe-to-toe with the best in the sport and come out on top.
It's an all Audi podium. That is ominous. That is ominous. As much as the engine failures have been such a nuisance and a downer for Audi, I'm sure, this season, to see the whole podium consist of Audi drivers must be pretty special. And it is a very, very special thing to do in Formula 1, I must say, as a manufacturer. But for us, as a team, it's our second Constructors' Championship ever on this game. The second one in a row, and showing and proving this pairing of myself and Vettel is just unmatched. 2 back-to-back championships for us as a team, as a partnership. Of course, Sainz, ironically, was part of that history as my teammate for the first half of the season, but for the Drivers' Championship, it is not wrapped up. It will go down to the wire at Yas Marina, but that man, Lando Norris, finishing up in P14 after crashing and colliding with his teammate is, well, mathematically still in it, but will be very much out of it. Same for Albon. Drogovic, P6 after that mistake versus his teammate Leclerc, also losing some crucial points. So going into Yas Marina, well, I said it. Remember what I said about, you know, when we were getting those engine failures? That because our car was going to be so good this season, I thought there was going to be a Rosberg v Hamilton sort of season with Sainz. Didn't end up that way. Sainz just kept taking me out and we had to end that partnership. But ironically, in the end of it, it's ended up being myself and Vettel having this kind of season because both of us are there. 1 point difference between ourselves going into the final race. Vettel going for his 6th World Championship. My first one on F1 22. Drogovic 9 points back. He's still in it. It's going to be a task for the junior driver in the Repsol Haas car, but he's still in it and very much more, well, way more in it than Lando Norris and Albon. But in the constructors, yeah, we've wrapped it up. No one can touch us. Haas get up into 2nd place though, very much deserved, to be honest, ahead of McLaren and Red Bull. Audi Sport nip ahead of Mercedes. What a crazy race this has been in Saudi Arabia, and it sets up a fascinating finale at Abu Dhabi. Again, myself and Vettel go into Yas Marina looking to win a Drivers' Championship, but this time the vibe is different. We're closer together on points, and this time I feel like we can go toe-to-toe with the phenomenon that has been Sebastian Vettel on this game in our car in my team career mode. So till then, guys, hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this one. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.